Damn it! Stop right now! Jake Sullivan roared like a battlefield command, charging forward to shield his cousin Emily Carter from her billionaire husband, Alexander Vaughn, after a slap that echoed through the luxurious Beverly Hills car dealership. Emily, 7 months pregnant with a heavy belly, clutched her burning cheek, tears mingling with the metallic tang of blood, her heart aching as she thought, how did I end up in this hell? Alexander, the Silicon Valley titan, always controlled her like a puppet. The Malibu mansion, a gilded prison, tracking her every step. But Jake, a former Navy SEAL forged in Afghanistan, recognized his cousin through childhood memories in San Diego. She's my family, and you'll regret this. The slap wasn't just violence, it unveiled a dark secret. Alexander was a serial killer. The air hums with soft jazz and the scent of new leather, but in a heartbeat, a single slap shatters the polished silence like a gunshot. Emily Carter, 7 months pregnant, stood frozen beside a practical Toyota SUV, her hand clutching her swollen belly, as if shielding her unborn child from the world's cruelty. Her cheek burned, a stinging mix of pain and humiliation, the metallic tang of blood seeping into her mouth where her teeth caught her lip. Her husband, Alexander Vaughn, loomed over her, his tailored Armani suit as pristine as his silver-flecked hair, his cold blue eyes glinting with the arrogance of a Silicon Valley titan who owned everything, including her. "We're buying the Lamborghini," he'd snarled moments before, dismissing her plea for a family-friendly car with the disdain of a man who saw practicality as a personal insult. To Alexander, a billionaire tech mogul, control was oxygen, and Emily had dared to breathe without permission. Her heart pounded, not just from the slap, but from the familiar dread that coiled in her gut like a snake. For 2 years, she'd lived in a gilded cage, a Malibu mansion, where every step was tracked, every dollar scrutinized, every bruise hidden beneath designer dresses. Alexander's world was a stage, and she was the puppet, her strings pulled by his whims. The showroom's onlookers, salespeople in crisp suits, customers clutching coffee cups stood paralyzed, their whispers swallowed by the weight of the moment. Emily's eyes darted to the SUV's cup holders, a silly detail that mocked her fleeting hope of normalcy, of being just a mom to be picking out a car for her baby's future. She should have known better than to challenge him in public. Alexander's temper was a private storm, unleashed only behind closed doors, but today, his mask had slipped. Then, like a thunderclap, a voice sliced through the tension. Jake Sullivan, the dealership's manager, strode across the polished floor with the purposeful gait of a man who'd faced worse than a billionaire's tantrum. At 6'3", with a buzz cut sharp enough to cut glass and green eyes blazing with righteous fury, Jake carried the aura of a Navy SEAL, forged in Afghanistan's crucible. His Navy blazer couldn't hide the coiled strength in his shoulders, a reminder of missions where hesitation meant death. "You just assaulted a pregnant woman in my dealership," he said, his voice low but carrying the weight of a battlefield command. He pulled out his phone, fingers steady as he dialed 911, never breaking eye contact with Alexander. The billionaire scoffed, adjusting his cufflinks with a smirk that could buy half of Los Angeles. "Do you know who I am? I could own this place by lunchtime." But Jake wasn't just a manager, he was family. As his gaze locked onto Emily, a flicker of recognition sparked, pulling him back to San Diego summers when they were kids. He taught her how to throw a punch in their grandma's backyard, laughing as she swung at imaginary bullies with her skinny arms. Now, seeing her pale face and the bruise blooming on her cheek, something snapped inside him. This wasn't just a customer. This was Emily, his cousin, the girl who'd once trusted him to chase away her fears. He stepped between her and Alexander, his broad frame a living shield. "She's my cousin," he said, his voice a steel blade. "Touch her again, and you'll find out how a SEAL protects family." The words landed like a grenade, silencing the room. Customers froze mid-sentence, salespeople abandoned their desks, and even the jazz seemed to hush. Alexander's smirk faltered, his calculating mind reassessing the man before him, not just a manager, but a warrior with a cause. Emily's breath hitched, her hand still cradling her belly, feeling the faint kick of her baby, a reminder of why she couldn't break, not now. For 2 years, she'd lived under Alexander's thumb, her world shrinking to his demands, her friends and family cut off one by one. But Jake's presence was a crack in that prison wall, a sliver of hope she hadn't felt since her wedding day, when she'd naively believed love meant safety. The showroom, with its million-dollar cars, felt like a stage for a showdown, and Jake was no ordinary hero. He was the guy who'd once rigged a backyard sprinkler to drench a bully, then winked at her like it was all part of the plan. That memory, absurdly funny in this moment, made her lips twitch, despite the pain. Jake had always been her protector, and now, with his seal-honed instincts, he was ready to fight a different kind of war. The tension hung thick, a standoff between a billionaire's ego and a soldier's resolve. Alexander's eyes narrowed, weighing his next move, while Jake stood unyielding, his phone still pressed to his ear as sirens wailed faintly in the distance. Emily felt a flicker of something new, courage maybe, or the ghost of the girl she used to be before Alexander's control suffocated her. The onlookers, now whispering, were unwitting witnesses to the start of something bigger, something that would unravel secrets darker than anyone could imagine. Would Alexander back down? Or was this just the first shot in a battle that would shake their world? You'll regret missing what happens next. From the moment the slap echoed through the Beverly Hills dealership, Emily Carter began to realize that Alexander Vaughn was not just a wealthy husband, but a living nightmare, ensnaring her like an invisible web. In the windswept Malibu mansion, where glass walls reflected the deep blue ocean, Emily lived as a prisoner in a gilded cage. Her phone was meticulously tracked, her bank accounts tightly controlled to the point where even the smallest expense required permission, and the bruises born of Alexander's sudden bursts of anger were always cleverly hidden beneath high-end makeup or long-sleeved dresses. Alexander, with his billion-dollar tech empire in Silicon Valley, wielded wealth as a weapon, making Emily feel like an expensive toy, easily discarded when it lost its value. On evenings by the glittering pool, he could push her underwater for a mere whisper of defiance in front of business partners, only to offer lavish gifts as hollow apologies, leaving her to wonder if love was just this cruel game of power. Jake Sullivan, with instincts honed through combat missions in Afghanistan, couldn't sit idle. Alongside his wife, Detective Laura Sullivan, a sharp-witted woman with years of crime investigation experience in Los Angeles, he began peeling back Alexander's past. Digital records, faded newspaper clippings, and hushed tips from confidential sources slowly revealed a terrifying picture. Alexander had once been married to Isabella Ramirez, a beautiful woman believed to have died in a catastrophic car crash in Big Sur, where her vehicle plunged off a cliff in dense fog. But the truth was far more horrifying. Isabella wasn't dead. She was hiding under the FBI's witness protection program, living in shadows to escape her ex-husband's claws. Alexander wasn't just an abusive husband. He ran a sophisticated criminal network, laundering money through sham tech companies, bribing officials to cover his tracks, and eliminating women who dared leave him through perfectly staged accidents, all to collect massive life insurance payouts, turning their tragedies into cold, hard profit. Jake, with a fleeting smile as he recalled training Emily in self-defense as kids in San Diego, where he'd playfully pretended to be a monster in hide and seek, making them both collapse in laughter, saw the signs clearly. This isn't just an abusive husband, he thought. He's a serial killer cloaked in an expensive suit. The truth chilled him, but it ignited his warrior instincts. Alexander had turned Emily into prey, and now the family had to fight back. Word spread quickly, and Emily's family rallied like a small army. Her mother, Margaret, drove through the night from San Diego, her face etched with the resolute strength of a single mother who'd overcome countless hardships. Her brother, Ryan, a social worker from San Francisco, arrived with a thick stack of documents, proving Alexander had destroyed the lives of multiple women, from costing them jobs and reputations to orchestrating mysterious deaths without a trace. But then, in the tense air of the family meeting, a massive twist crashed in like an unseen wave. Emily, her voice trembling yet resolute, confessed her deepest secret. The baby in her womb wasn't Alexander's. It was conceived during a weekend he was away in New York, when she reunited with her high school love, David Ramirez, a dedicated doctor who listened to her weep about her hellish marriage. David died in a car crash 6 weeks later, hit by a drunk driver, a coincidence that now raised everyone's suspicions. If Alexander learned this truth, Emily wouldn't just face beatings, she'd die like the victims before her. Jake clenched his fists. Margaret wiped away tears. Ryan scribbled frantically. All realized this secret didn't just threaten Emily, it was the key to toppling Alexander. The truth, laced with a touch of dark humor when Jake quipped that he controls everything but the heart's schedule, drew strained smiles, but it also sparked resolve. The family had to plan, for if they didn't, Emily would be the next name on his deadly list. Dear audience, grab a glass of water, take a moment to relax, and keep listening to the story. The twists are still to come. And please drop a comment below letting me know where you're watching from and what time it is for you. It's always a joy to see who's joining us from around the world. Drop a 1 in the comments if you find this story gripping, so we can keep bringing you more captivating tales. After the shock of learning her baby wasn't Alexander Vaughn's, Emily Carter felt the world around her crumbling. But the steely gaze of her cousin Jake Sullivan kindled a spark of hope in the modest Beverly Hills living room. Jake, with instincts honed through life or death missions as a Navy SEAL in Afghanistan, was more than a car dealership manager. He was a fortress safeguarding his family. That night, Jake's small house transformed into a stronghold, its warm golden lamplight starkly contrasting the storm brewing outside. Emily's mother, Margaret, drove through the night from San Diego, her silver hair disheveled but her green eyes flashing with the righteous fury of a single mother who'd raised 2 children alone after her husband's sacrifice in Iraq. Emily's brother, Ryan, a social worker from San Francisco, stepped in with a thick stack of documents, each page a testament to Alexander's perfectly disguised crimes. They weren't just facing an abusive husband, but a serial killer, cloaked in the veneer of a Silicon Valley billionaire. Jake spread Ryan's documents across the coffee table, the lines of text and images weaving a horrifying tale. Alexander had ruined the lives of numerous women. Sophia Lee, a scientist in Seattle, lost her job after leaving him, her reputation shattered by fabricated fraud accusations. Olivia Grant, found dead mysteriously after a divorce, her body discovered in a lavish Miami apartment. Worse still, 3 other women met grimmer fates. Maria Gonzalez, killed in a Los Angeles home invasion that stole nothing but her life. Catherine Brooks, struck by sudden cardiac arrest in Chicago despite no medical history. And Jessica Hayes, whose car plunged off a cliff in Lake Tahoe in a crash riddled with suspicion. Each case left Alexander collecting multi-million-dollar life insurance payouts, as if their deaths were mere business transactions. Jake, with a strained smile recalling the time he accidentally spilled coffee on Ryan's college papers, tried to lighten the heavy air with humor. This guy really thinks he's a Hollywood mastermind, staging everything like a blockbuster. But behind the smile was deadly seriousness. This was an enemy even a SEAL had to respect. The truth grew more chilling when Amanda Torres appeared, stepping from the shadows like a ghost returned. Amanda, formerly Isabella Ramirez, Alexander's ex-wife, was presumed dead in a Big Sur crash. Now, under the FBI's witness protection program, she carried the cautious gaze of someone who'd survived hell. Her face, though weary, retained a sharp beauty, but her posture was ever vigilant, as if always ready to flee. She recounted years of isolation by Alexander, her finances controlled, and calculated violence that left no visible marks. Amanda revealed a secret network, survivors, including doctors, lawyers, and even police, who'd escaped wealthy abusers like Alexander. They'd built a support system, from safe houses to counseling, to aid women like Emily. He doesn't just abuse, Amanda thought. He kills to dominate, and money is his sharpest weapon. Jake, with his battlefield experience, began teaching Emily basic self-defense moves, simple yet effective, much like when he'd shown her how to throw a punch as kids in San Diego. Those memories, when the cousins laughed by the beach, now fueled her strength. But Alexander's retaliation had begun. Jake's dealership faced a sudden investigation from the licensing board, with business violations filed by an anonymous source clearly Alexander's handiwork. Laura, Jake's wife, received notice from the Los Angeles Police Department that she was under internal investigation for abuse of authority in Alexander's arrest. Ryan discovered his company's accounts hacked, client data erased, Alexander's fingerprints unmistakable. The Carter family was now a target, but they stood unyielding. Margaret, with the resilience of a mother who'd weathered countless storms, gripped Emily's hand, vowing that their family's resistance would outmatch money and power. Ryan, with a social worker's precision, drafted legal strategies, while Jake planned like a battlefield commander. Emily, trembling at the scale of the threat, felt a shift in her heart. 2 years of fear had made her forget her own strength, the girl who'd laughed freely as Jake taught her to fight ocean waves. Now, surrounded by family, she realized she was no longer alone. But the real battle was just beginning, and if you walk away now, you'll regret missing how an ordinary family faced down a monstrous power to reclaim freedom. In the cozy Beverly Hills living room, the soft glow of golden lamplight couldn't dispel the fear strangling Emily Carter's heart. She sat huddled on the sofa, hands cradling her 7-month pregnant belly, feeling the faint kicks of her baby, not Alexander Vaughn's cried, but David Ramirez's, her former love who died in a car crash in Phoenix. Emily confessed to her family with trembling words, her voice breaking like waves on a Malibu shore. During a weekend when Alexander was away in New York, she'd met David at a small cafe, a place tied to their high school romance. That tearful reunion, filled with memories, rekindled a spark of freedom Alexander had long extinguished. But 6 weeks later, David died at the hands of a drunk driver, a coincidence that now made the family suspect Alexander's involvement. If he learned the baby wasn't his, Emily wouldn't just face violence, she'd be the next name on his deadly list. Jake Sullivan, Emily's cousin, with the honed instincts of a Navy SEAL forged through sleepless nights in Afghanistan, listened with piercing green eyes. He gripped the hand of his wife, Detective Laura Sullivan, who'd just received another internal affairs notice from the Los Angeles police, a fresh blow of Alexander's retaliation. Emily's mother, Margaret, sat beside her, her resolute strength as a single mother who'd raised 2 children after her husband's sacrifice in Iraq evident in her tightly clasped hands. Her brother Ryan, a social worker from San Francisco, flipped through documents, each page a testament to Alexander's ruthless crimes, from destroying reputations to staging accidents. But the secret of the baby was the most dangerous spark. Jake, with the dry humor that had carried him through battlefields, murmured, "He controls the whole world, but forgot the heart doesn't take orders from money." That strained smile made Emily briefly grin, recalling days when Jake taught her to skip stones on a San Diego beach, promising to always protect her. Through a covert FBI contact, a bold plan emerged. Emily must wear a wire to trap Alexander into confessing his crimes. Jake, with his battlefield experience, agreed to train her not to throw punches, but to provoke his anger without exposing herself. Steer him to reveal his true nature, but stay safe, Jake urged, his gaze stern as when leading his SEAL team through war zones. Emily, though her heart pounded wildly, slipped on Maria Gonzalez's silver necklace, a victim Alexander killed in a staged home invasion. The necklace, cold against her skin, served as a haunting reminder of those who didn't escape, yet also a source of courage for the fight ahead. Amanda Torres, once Isabella, shared via a secure call how she faked her death in Big Sur with FBI help, her voice quivering yet resolute, like a beacon piercing the darkness. Meanwhile, Alexander escalated his vengeance. He filed an emergency petition in a Los Angeles court, claiming Emily was mentally unstable due to pregnancy hormones, demanding custody of the unborn child, a chilling move to lock her in a psychiatric facility under his control. Jake's dealership faced new fabricated charges, threatening bankruptcy. Laura risked losing her detective badge. Ryan found his company's accounts hacked, client data erased. But the Carter family stood unbroken. Margaret, with the toughness of a mother who'd endured countless storms, held Emily's hand, whispering a vow that their family's resistance would outlast money and power. Jake mapped out a strategy like a battlefield commander. Emily would confront Alexander at the dealership where it all began, with FBI agents covertly in place. Ryan coordinated with a network of survivors, doctors, lawyers, police who'd escaped abusers like Alexander, ensuring Emily had a steadfast support system. Emily, trembling before the prospect of facing a monster, felt a new fire ignite within. 2 years of fear had made her forget her strength, the girl who laughed freely as Jake dared her to conquer ocean waves. Maria's necklace, like a talisman, reminded her that fleeing wasn't an option. This risky plan could make her vanish forever, but it might also end Alexander's reign of terror. If you walk away now, you'll regret missing the moment an ordinary woman confronts a serial killer, and what happens next will leave you stunned. In the dazzling glow of the Beverly Hills car dealership, where supercars sparkled like Hollywood stars, Emily Carter stepped into the most dangerous battle of her life. Her face pale, her trembling hands cradled her 7-month pregnant belly. But the silver necklace of Maria Gonzalez, Alexander Vaughn's ill-fated victim, felt icy against her skin, like a talisman fueling her strength. Emily, with an FBI wire hidden beneath her clothes, feigned submission before her husband, her eyes lowered to mask a blazing resolve. Alexander, in a perfectly tailored suit, sat at a small conference table like a king on his throne, his salt and pepper hair neatly combed, a smug smile concealing the cruelty that had shattered countless lives. The dealership, where it all began with a fateful slap, now served as the stage for the final showdown, with the FBI lurking in the shadows, Agent Sarah Kim posing as a customer, Michael Hayes disguised as a salesman, and security poised to strike. Emily, her heart pounding, approached Alexander, each step like walking a tightrope over an abyss. She recalled years in the Malibu mansion, where glass walls reflected his suffocating control, her phone hacked, accounts locked, and times he pushed her into the pool for a mere misspoken word. But today, she was no longer prey. Her cousin Jake Sullivan, a former Navy SEAL, had trained her to provoke Alexander's true nature, just as he'd once lured enemies into traps in Afghanistan. Emily drew a deep breath, her voice deceptively soft, convincing Alexander she'd surrendered. He, with an ego swollen like his Silicon Valley empire, began to boast. Cold words spilled forth, revealing he'd orchestrated accidents for Maria Gonzalez, Catherine Brooks, and Jessica Hayes, turning their deaths into $1 million insurance payouts. Those who betray me, he thought, always pay. His smile, sharp as a blade, sent shivers through Emily, but she held firm, recalling Jake's quip, "He thinks he's James Bond," but forgot every movie has an ending. Then came the pivotal moment. Emily, with courage surging like San Diego waves from her childhood, unveiled the deadly secret. The baby wasn't Alexander's, but David Ramirez's, her former love killed in a Phoenix car crash. Alexander froze, his face shifting from smugness to primal rage. His pale blue eyes flashed like a predator's, and he struck her again, blood trickling from Emily's lip, the metallic taste flooding her mouth. He gritted his teeth, his voice a venomous whisper, vowing she'd vanish cleanly, without a trace, and the baby never existed. But every word he uttered was captured by the wire, each syllable a nail in the coffin of his crimes. Around them, FBI agents tensed, hands ready on weapons, awaiting the final confession. Alexander, losing control, admitted everything, how he made women regret and reaped lucrative life insurance. Emily, despite the pain, stood tall, Maria's necklace like a flame reminding her of those who didn't survive. Suddenly, the dealership erupted in action. Sarah Kim, with the sharp poise of a seasoned agent, emerged from behind a sedan, gun drawn. "Alexander Vaughn, you're under arrest." Michael Hayes, flanked by 2 Los Angeles officers, closed the circle, handcuffs clicking on his wrists. Alexander roared, his suit rumpled, his face contorted in helpless fury. This isn't over. But he was defeated. The Wire, Amanda Torres's testimony, his ex-wife who survived under witness protection and FBI financial records, painted a complete picture. Alexander was a serial killer, hidden behind a glamorous facade. Jake rushed to embrace Emily, his eyes gleaming with pride, like when they shared small victories on childhood beaches. You did it, he thought. He's done. Emily, though her cheek stung and her heart raced, felt 2 years of fear dissolve. Justice had prevailed, but could Alexander still strike from behind bars? 6 months after the fateful slap, can you imagine a world where justice triumphs over a monstrous power? The Beverly Hills car dealership, once Emily Carter's battlefield, now bustled with customers, drawn not just by gleaming supercars, but by its fame as the place where a billionaire fell. Emily stood beside the Toyota SUV, where it all began, cradling her 6-week-old daughter, Sofia Isabella Ramirez, a tiny angel with deep black eyes and olive skin, inherited from her father, David Ramirez. Spring sunlight streamed through the windows, illuminating Emily's face, now free of fear or bruises. The silver necklace of Maria Gonzalez, once a talisman in her fight, now shimmered as a symbol of victory. Alexander Vaughn, who once ruled her life with suffocating control from a Malibu mansion, was now locked away forever in San Quentin prison, his Silicon Valley tech empire crumbling like a sandcastle before the sea. Emily, her hair neatly tied back and a gentle smile on her lips, watched Sofia sleep peacefully in her carrier, feeling a tranquility she thought was lost forever. 2 years in a gilded cage, every step and breath monitored, were now distant memories. She recalled days of isolation by Alexander, her phone hacked, accounts frozen, and threats echoing in the mansion's shadows. But now, she was free, reclaiming her maiden name, Emily Morrison, erasing all traces of Mrs. Vaughn. Sofia, named to honor her father and Amanda Torres's courage, Alexander's ex-wife, who survived under witness protection, was proof of a new beginning. Emily resolved to return to UCLA, pursuing her dream of becoming a school counselor, carrying forward David's legacy of saving lives. She smiled, recalling Jake Sullivan's quip, her cousin, about how signing up late for UCLA is probably easier than facing a billionaire, a touch of humor that softened the tense months. Alexander's empire collapsed entirely. The FBI seized his assets, from lavish yachts to offshore accounts, funneling them into the Maria Gonzalez Foundation Against Domestic Violence. Co-founded by Emily and Amanda, the foundation opened 3 safe houses, a free legal clinic, and a 24/7 hotline, rescuing hundreds of women from abuse. The Survivor Network, now over 60 members, across 15 states, became a beacon of hope, linking doctors, lawyers, and others who'd endured like Emily. Margaret, Emily's mother, stood beside her in the dealership, her eyes fierce with the strength of a single mother who'd overcome hardships in San Diego. Ryan, her brother from San Francisco, brought new documents, aiding the foundation's growth. Jake and Laura, the Los Angeles detective, now cleared of internal charges, beamed with pride at the thriving dealership, a quiet victory over Alexander. Jake, still sharp with his Navy SEAL edge, approached, his eyes twinkling as he gazed at Sofia. He recalled training Emily in self-defense, those San Diego beach afternoons when they laughed, daring each other to conquer waves. Family resistance outlasts power, he thought, swelling with pride seeing his cousin stand tall, no longer a victim. Amanda, now openly herself, appeared with a weary but radiant smile, sharing stories of women saved by the foundation. Their message resonated: love is protection, not control. Sofia would grow up knowing her father was a hero, her mother a warrior, and her family an unbreakable fortress. Emily thanked each one. Margaret, with her boundless maternal love. Ryan, with his tireless precision. Jake and Laura, with their courage. Amanda, with her sacrifice. They'd turned a nightmare into an inspiring tale. The world was safer now, but Emily knew the fight was never truly over. Every day, women somewhere faced wealthy abusers, living in fear. The Maria Gonzalez Foundation stood as a reminder: justice can prevail, but only if someone dares to stand up. If you walk away now, you'll regret missing how an ordinary family changed the world. And will you share this story to inspire others? And you, my dear audience, brace yourselves for the next twist in this jaw-dropping story. So, before you get too cozy, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you're truly loving what I'm doing here. And drop a comment below letting me know where you're watching from and what time it is for you. It's always a thrill to see who's joining us from all corners of the globe.